Leon Fou Bartfort, an ordinary salaryman who suddenly gets reincarnated into a game he absolutely hates, a dating simulator where men are basically treated like background characters. In his past life, he only beat the game through pure blackmailing and suffering, grinding it out while sleep-deprived and miserable. Now stuck inside it as a nobody, Leon has zero interest in playing. He's lazy, a bit of a scumbag, and just wants an easy life. But in a world filled with arrogant nobles and flawless main characters, Leon treats every beautiful, perfect guy like they're some kind of final boss. The story begins with a boy sitting alone in his room, completely absorbed in an otome game, watching as a prince interacts with a beautiful girl, who frustratingly enough, pretends not to recognize him. And as he observes this scene, irritation builds inside him because it's obvious the girl is just acting clever to toy with him. And he can't help but think how ridiculous it is that the game world is designed entirely for girls, which only adds to his mounting frustration. Soon, his phone buzzes, and he remembers why he is even playing this game in the first place. His sister has forced him into it, insisting that he complete the game so she can claim the final reward. And she doesn't stop at mere insistence, threatening to expose all of his secrets to their mother if he fails, leaving him with no choice but to push forward despite his personal dislike for the story, enduring the game's endless drama under the weight of her pressure. The game itself is tiresome and repetitive, built around 5 princes endlessly competing for the affection of a single girl, each one constantly attempting to prove his love through exaggerated and over-the-top displays, which only serves to deepen the boy's annoyance. Yet he forces himself to continue playing without pause, and after 5 long grueling days, he finally completes the game, only to find that his body is utterly drained, weakened not only by exhaustion but also by hunger, since he has barely eaten during that entire time. Determined to get some food, he decides to go downstairs, but his exhausted body betrays him in the worst way possible, causing him to lose his balance on the stairs and fall, resulting in his sudden and unexpected death. And when he opens his eyes again, he finds himself lying in a wide green field, quickly realizing that his body has transformed into that of a child, and that his new name is Leon, a boy who grows up as the son of a poor farmer, suffering harsh treatment in his own home, where a wealthy and arrogant old woman, his father's new wife, looks down on him, favors her own children, and keeps Leon and his side of the family separate, neglected and marginalized. Confused by the harshness of his new life, Leon questions his brother, who explains that their lowly background is the reason they are treated so badly, and that in this world power and status dictate how people are seen and respected, and without them others have no reason to treat you fairly. A lesson reinforced with bitter clarity, prompting his brother to advise Leon to study hard, enter the academy, and secure a better future for himself, which triggers something deep in Leon's mind, causing fragments of memories from his past life to resurface slowly, until he realizes that underestimating women in this world is a grave mistake, as they hold more power than one might first assume. And eventually, as more memories return, he comes to a shocking realization. This is the same world as the game he once played, trapped in a dating sim. Over the next 10 years, Leon painstakingly regains all of his memories and records everything he remembers about the game, aware that conflict is inevitable and determined to prepare himself, training rigorously both in mind and body to handle whatever challenges come his way. And later, when his stepmother attempts to force him into an unwanted marriage, he refuses to accept her decision, choosing instead to follow his own path, remembering a hidden opportunity he once discovered in the game, and setting out on a journey, piloting an aircraft to locate a valuable item that could change everything. The journey proves to be as dangerous as it is revealing, as Leon faces and defeats a monstrous fish with precise skill, discovers a hidden transporter beneath the water that confirms his knowledge from the game, and yet just as he feels a sense of progress, a violent storm destroys his boat, dragging him helplessly into a whirlpool, and when he finally regains consciousness, he finds himself in a dense forest near the ruins of an ancient castle, the very location where he once hid a critical item in the game, and without hesitation he moves inside, carefully cautious as he navigates the crumbling halls until a strange noise draws his attention and reveals a robotic security guard which he immediately takes down with an electric bullet fired with precision. And as he continues deeper, he discovers a human skeleton, among the remains of which he finds an ID card that he decides to keep, eventually arriving at a massive sealed gate that he opens using the card, only to step inside and be stunned by the sight of a spaceship, instantly recognizing it as a special paid item from the game that he had obtained before. Scanning the card again, he activates the ship and marvels at its advanced design and scale as he makes his way toward the control room, only for another robot to appear and identify him as a threat, forcing Leon into a desperate battle where his electric shotgun proves useless, and the robot rejects his ID card as authorization, attacking him relentlessly and blocking every attempt he makes to fight back, which leads him to try a surprise bomb attack, only for the robot to react instantly and capture him, analyzing him while concluding that its original civilization had long since been destroyed. And as death approaches, Leon summons the last of his strength to strike the robot's eyes with his sword, surviving despite injuries that would have crushed a lesser person. Pushing forward, he ignores a system voice questioning his worth, focusing only on his goal, until he places his hand on a control panel, and after scanning him, the system grants full access, recognizing his intelligence and officially accepting him as the owner, prompting him to name the system Luxian, though his injuries finally catch up with him and he collapses, reflecting on the harshness and unfairness of this world even as he still longs for a peaceful life. And just as his consciousness fades, Luxian detects his critical condition and activates a healing process to save him. Meanwhile, back home, his stepmother assumes that he has failed and harshly criticizes his choice to leave, claiming he wasted a valuable opportunity, while his father quietly worries about his fate after months without news, until a massive spaceship descends from the sky, shocking everyone, and Leon appears standing on top of it, alive, transformed, and wealthy beyond measure, with Luxian floating beside him as a loyal assistant, leaving his stepmother stunned and frustrated, unable to comprehend his success. And finally, Leon arrives at the academy, surrounded by students from noble families, ready to take his place in a world he now fully understands and intends to conquer on his own terms. After that, Leon waters the plants, feeling the calm settle over him as he reflects on his newfound freedom, while Luxian observes quietly, noting the unusual brightness in his mood, and eventually comments on the deserted island Leon had discovered earlier, suggesting it could become a lucrative source of income if developed properly. The idea of building something like a hot spring excites Leon, and he begins to imagine a future where he lives comfortably, enjoying peace and stability after finding a suitable partner at the academy. And in that moment, he realizes that he has reached what might truly be the starting point of the game's story, a moment where his choices could finally begin to matter. As Leon surveys the surroundings, he notices a wealthy girl forcing a poor boy to carry out her tasks, a small but clear reminder of how dominant women are in this world and how much influence they wield over others. When suddenly loud cheers erupt nearby, drawing his attention, and he turns to see 5 princes surrounded by throngs of admiring girls, instantly recognizing them as the same characters from the game, which confirms that familiar patterns are beginning to emerge, but not without deviations. Shortly afterward, a girl appears, whom Leon identifies as Angelica, the powerful noble known for her prideful, uncompromising nature, and wishing to avoid any unnecessary trouble, he keeps his distance, only to notice one of the princes being slapped by a girl, a scene he recognizes from the game but finds unsettling because the girl involved is not the one he remembers, leaving him to sit back in his room later, deep in thought, trying to recall where he has seen that girl before. Meanwhile, Luxian returns after exploring the city and notices Leon preparing something unusual. Instead of studying as most students would, he is meticulously organizing a tea party, pouring effort into every detail. And sometime later, he meets 2 boys, Daniel and Raymond, who discuss their own struggles to find girls who are not from wealthy families. And Leon immediately understands that without a proper tea party to establish their social standing, their reputations will suffer in this competitive environment, making it even harder for them to gain attention. But before their conversation can go further, a loud commotion nearby interrupts them, and they see once again the princes surrounded by adoring girls. A display of popularity so overwhelming that Raymond visibly worries about how ordinary students like them could ever hope to stand out. At the same time, Angelica approaches one of the princes to discuss an important matter, but he ignores her concerns entirely, focusing instead on Marie and inviting her to a tea party, which visibly upsets Angelica, who believes the girl is wholly unsuitable for such an event. Yet the prince follows his own decision regardless. And watching this unfold, Leon realizes that the story is already beginning to diverge from the original game, a realization that only deepens his attention to every detail of the interactions around him. Later, during class, the professor delivers a lecture on how tea parties reflect social skills and character, a point Leon finds entirely pointless given the circumstances. And after the lesson, he takes it upon himself to organize his own tea party with careful effort, only to find that when 4 girls arrive, only one was actually invited, and the others consume all the food in a flash before leaving without a care, leaving Leon completely disappointed and frustrated. Soon after, his attention is drawn to a group of girls bullying a poor student, mocking her cruelly before walking away, and as Luxian analyzes the situation, it identifies the girl as a scholarship student, prompting Leon to realize that she is Olivia, the true heroine of the game, who is now deviated from her original path. And seeing her cry, he feels conflicted, understanding that intervening might alter the storyline he originally wishes to preserve. Yet he cannot ignore her suffering, and eventually decides to step in, inviting her to join him for tea, where she sits quietly and begins to enjoy the snacks, her gratitude evident but tempered by lingering sadness. As they spend more time together, it becomes clear that Olivia has endured constant bullying for not belonging to the noble class, and she confides that she joined the academy to learn magic, but remains confused by the system and its rules, which overwhelms her and causes her to become emotional again, prompting Leon to listen patiently and offer comfort, while simultaneously considering ways to help her more effectively, eventually deciding that she needs guidance from someone who truly understands the academy's workings. Later, Leon meets his stepsister, the daughter of his stepmother, and introduces Olivia as a friend in need of proper instruction, suggesting that she meet Angelica, believing the noblewoman can teach her how things function in this world. And his sister explains the etiquette involved, including the need to bring high-quality snacks as a respectful gesture, a requirement that worries Olivia because she cannot afford such items. But Leon, understanding her predicament, takes responsibility and assures her that he will handle everything. Soon after, Olivia meets Angelica, who maintains an unmistakable air of superiority and politely expresses her desire to live peacefully at the academy. Angelica dismisses her guards and assures her she will not interfere, though her curiosity is piqued once she learns that Leon guided Olivia, acknowledging his capability while simultaneously considering him someone who might be manipulated by others. The story then shifts to the outdoor training ground, where students gather in full adventure gear for an assigned task involving crystal collection and monster combat. As Leon and Olivia prepare, Angelica confronts Marie, asserting that she does not belong near the prince, but the prince defends Marie, supported by the others, and they leave together, creating tension and leaving Angelica visibly frustrated. Inside the dungeon, Leon and Olivia begin gathering crystals, and Olivia gains confidence as she successfully collects a few, though their progress is abruptly interrupted when a monster appears, frightening her to the point of considering seeking help. But Leon quickly realizes that in this dangerous environment everyone must rely on themselves, and he draws the sword created by Luxian, defeating one monster before another strikes and injures his hand. Yet despite the pain, he manages to prevail once more. Only to be surrounded soon after by a swarm of ant-like monsters, escalating the situation to critical levels. At that precise moment, the princes arrive along with Marie, with Angelica following closely behind, and together the group works efficiently to eliminate all the monsters, during which the prince is injured and healed by Marie, revealing her importance, and making it clear that only one of the princes is the true prince, while the others serve as protectors. After the battle concludes, the prince departs with Marie, leaving Angelica frustrated, while Leon remains behind, attending to his own injuries and quietly reflecting on the sudden appearance of Marie and the increasing closeness between her and the prince, which begins to trouble him deeply. After that, we see three girls secretly destroy a laptop. Soon after, Angelica is summoned by the prince and accused of being involved in the incident. Despite her confusion and denial, suspicion falls on her, and the prince starts distancing himself, weakening their long-standing relationship. Back at the academy, Leon spends time with his friends and notices how most of the popular girls have already chosen partners. His repeated failures with tea parties leave him frustrated and discouraged. At the same time, he observes that the prince is becoming unusually close to Marie while treating Angelica coldly. This development alarms him, as he recognizes it as part of the game's story, but it is happening much earlier than expected. Trying to understand more, Leon asks Olivia about Marie. Olivia shares her brief encounter, describing Marie as rude and unfriendly. This only strengthens Leon's suspicion that something is wrong. Elsewhere, the prince grows more attached to Marie after learning about her struggles. Wanting to support her, he arranges a servant for her, further strengthening their bond. Marie enjoys her rising status and feels satisfied with how smoothly things are going in her favor. On the other hand, Angelica becomes emotionally overwhelmed. Despite her servants attempting to comfort her, she isolates herself, unable to accept the prince's sudden change. After dedicating her life to him, she feels betrayed and heartbroken, eventually breaking down in private. The next day, Leon's sister confronts him about Marie and reveals rumors that Angelica has started bullying her. She warns Leon to stay out of trouble and avoid bringing shame, leaving him to reflect on how little progress he has made despite everything he has endured. Later, Luxian appears and discusses the situation with Leon. Although he agrees to gather information on both Angelica and Marie, he maintains his cold attitude toward humans. Leon, however, grows more serious as he senses that events are moving toward a major conflict. The scene then shifts to a grand gathering hall where all students assemble. Leon and his friends attempt once again to approach girls, but their efforts end in humiliation. They are insulted and even physically struck by guards, leaving them embarrassed and defeated. Suddenly, Olivia rushes to Leon with urgent news. Angelica has confronted the prince after witnessing Marie with another boy, but the prince refuses to believe her and instead trusts Marie completely. His protectors openly support Marie, further isolating Angelica. Overwhelmed by anger and heartbreak, Angelica finally throws down her glove, issuing a formal challenge. The entire hall falls into shock. Marie steps forward with confidence, encouraged by the prince and supported by his allies. As tension rises, Angelica looks around for support, but no one stands with her. Despite wanting to stay uninvolved, he feels a strong pull and steps forward. In a bold and unexpected move, Leon declares himself as Angelica's champion, shocking everyone. Through Luxian's investigation, Leon uncovers a shocking truth. Marie is also reincarnated just like him. This discovery explains why the story is changing so drastically from what he remembers in the game. As the duel conditions are finalized, Angelica demands only one thing, that Marie must stay away from the prince, as he is extremely important to her. Marie also presents her own condition, hoping to resolve everything if she wins. Leon, already aware of how these events should unfold, firmly establishes the final terms. If he wins, the prince and Marie must separate, but if he loses, Angelica must completely give up on the prince. Both sides agree, raising the stakes of the conflict. Leon then proposes that the duel will take place as an armored battle inside an arena. This suggestion is accepted, but the situation becomes more intense when Leon declares that he will fight all 5 opponents alone. This bold decision shocks everyone, as facing 5 skilled fighters alone appears reckless. As preparations begin, Marie grows frustrated in her room because Leon's involvement disrupts her carefully planned strategy. Meanwhile, Leon faces humiliation when he finds insults written about him. Luxian reveals that even his own friends contributed to it to improve their social image. Excitement spreads across the academy as students place bets on the duel, yet no one supports Leon. Understanding the situation, he asks Luxian to secure a large amount of money, preparing himself for what lies ahead. Soon after, Angelica approaches Leon and urges him to withdraw, not wanting him to risk his life. However, Leon refuses, believing that stepping back would only bring her greater humiliation. Angelica admits her family is already furious and may abandon her, and she cannot offer any reward. Leon dismisses this concern, making it clear that money is not his reason. When she questions his motives, Leon reveals that he simply wants to confront those he dislikes and believes he still has a strong chance of winning. The scene shifts to the battlefield, where Leon prepares for combat. Luxian presents him with specially designed armor. At the same time, Olivia arrives and quietly supports Leon, giving him encouragement before the fight. On the opposing side, the prince and his allies arrive in powerful modern armor, gaining overwhelming support from the crowd. In contrast, Leon is mocked as he steps forward. However, he remains unfazed. He even notices that his 2 friends have placed bets on his victory, giving him a slight boost of confidence. Moments later, Leon's armor descends from the sky. It looks bulky and outdated, drawing laughter from the audience. The audience continues to mock Leon as his outdated armor stands against advanced machines. Even Angelica begins to doubt him, although she senses he may be hiding something important. Leon enters the armor as Luxian activates its system. Ignoring the noise around him, he focuses entirely on the battle ahead. As the match begins, Leon faces his first opponent. He quickly analyzes him and realizes that the opponent depends heavily on magic, and is likely the weakest among the 5. Despite this, the opponent stands confidently, believing victory will come easily. Leon prepares to fight, but instead of a powerful weapon, Luxian equips him with a shovel. The audience bursts into laughter, finding the situation ridiculous, yet Leon remains completely unfazed. As the battle starts, the opponent attacks first using magic, but Leon smoothly dodges the strike. When a second attack follows, Leon rushes forward with incredible speed and defeats him in a single blow. Although Leon feels the attack was light, Luxian internally evaluates that it could have been deadly with more force. The referee declares Leon the winner, yet the crowd reacts with disappointment. Only a professor applauds, surprising Angelica, while the prince struggles to understand how such heavy armor moves so fast. Another opponent steps forward, filled with confidence after witnessing the first match. Luxian provides Leon with a detailed analysis of the enemy's armor. As the fight begins, the opponent attacks, but Leon blocks it easily with the shovel. He counters immediately, breaking the opponent's weapon and launching a relentless assault. Even when the opponent tries to surrender, Leon continues overpowering him until he is completely defeated. The audience grows even more frustrated with his overwhelming strength. Olivia feels relieved by Leon's victory, but also senses that he is becoming too ruthless. At the same time, Marie watches with visible anger as her plans begin to fall apart. Soon, the third opponent shows up, relying on his sword skills. As the fight begins, Leon calmly steps back and signals Lucy to activate a hidden drone. The drone interferes with the opponent's armor, causing electric shocks that disrupt his movements. Leon allows the opponent to attack first, then effortlessly catches his sword with one hand and snaps it instantly. This shocking display breaks the opponent's confidence, forcing him to surrender. Leon humiliates him further, showing complete dominance. The audience watching feels disappointed, especially those who lost their bets. During a short break, Angelica and Olivia approach Leon's armor with concern. Meanwhile, Leon's sister secretly observes from a distance and interacts with Angelica. One of the prince's allies watches them, hinting at a dangerous plan. Soon after, Luxion alerts Leon that explosives have been planted on his armor, and shockingly, his own sister is involved in this. Despite the danger, Leon remains confident and prepares for the next battle. As the match resumes, his opponent avoids direct combat, throwing a smoke bomb and taking to the air. From above, the enemy begins firing at Leon's armor, believing the explosives and attacks will be enough to destroy him. But Leon stands completely unharmed without even a scratch on his armor. The opponent freezes in shock, realizing his entire plan has collapsed. With no other choice, he activates a hidden explosive device attached to Leon's armor, creating a massive blast that shakes the arena. He tries to justify his actions as loyalty to the prince, but when the smoke fades, Leon is nowhere on the ground. A moment later, Leon appears floating in the air, perfectly safe, proving that even this final attack has no effect on him. Desperation pushes the opponent to attack again with force, even attempting to intimidate Leon by threatening his family. However, Leon stays calm and turns the situation to his favor. Luxion shows recorded evidence of the opponent's threat, exposing his intentions in front of everyone. The opponent becomes terrified, understanding that he has lost both the fight and his reputation to the prince. In a final move, the opponent charges forward, but Leon easily overpowers him and delivers a strike that ends the battle instantly. The defeated opponent admits Leon's overwhelming strength and warns that he is too dangerous for anyone, even the prince. Leon's sister watches with frustration, while Marie grows increasingly anxious as her plans continue to fail. She struggles to accept how effortlessly Leon defeats every opponent, especially when others had seemed confident before losing. Despite this, the prince steps forward with determination, believing his advanced armor will secure victory. The audience cheers loudly, placing their hopes on him, although Leon senses their hidden doubt. He realizes that while the prince and others may grow stronger in the future, at this moment he stands far above them. As the final battle begins, Luxion analyzes the prince's armor and concludes that its strength may only appear impressive on the surface. Leon moves first, launching a direct attack, but the prince skillfully dodges and counters immediately. The crowd becomes energized, hoping the prince can succeed where others failed. The prince fights with strong determination, showing greater skill than the previous opponents. Leon acknowledges this but continues to avoid attacks with ease. Even under pressure, the prince remains firm in his resolve, refusing to back down. Meanwhile, Leon begins to reflect on emotions like love, showing confusion about something he does not fully understand. He continues fighting the prince while exposing the truth about Angelica's feelings, explaining that her love is real and deep. The prince refuses to accept this and convinces himself that only Marie understands him. This belief strengthens his resolve, and he attacks Leon with even greater intensity. During the battle, Leon questions the situation and hints that Marie may be manipulating the prince. He even feels pity for him, which only increases the prince's anger. The prince views Leon as arrogant, while Leon openly accepts that he may be prideful, but remains confident that none of them can defeat him. He keeps pressuring the prince mentally, reminding him how it feels to lose against someone he once considered weak. As the fight continues, Leon highlights the harsh realities of ordinary people's lives. He describes struggles, rejection, and humiliation that commoners face every day, things the prince has never experienced. His words deeply affect the audience, and many people become emotional as they relate to his hardships. Despite this, the prince refuses to back down and remains ready to risk everything for Marie. Angelica watches the fight and becomes overwhelmed with emotion, realizing the prince's devotion to Marie. Olivia steps forward and defends Angelica, making everyone aware of her love and genuine care for the prince's safety. Her bold action shocks the crowd, but Marie reacts with anger. The prince continues to deny Angelica's love and insists that Marie is the only one who truly understands him. This deeply hurts Angelica, yet the battle continues without pause. Leon then attempts to end the fight peacefully by offering the prince an easy way out, but the prince refuses because it goes against his pride. Leon's sarcastic suggestion of pretending to lose angers the audience even more, turning public opinion completely against him. The prince attacks again, but Leon stops him and forces him to think about the consequences of his actions. He warns that going against Angelica's family could cost him his status and future as king. Even after hearing this, the prince chooses Marie over Angelica and accepts the risk of losing everything. With that assurance, Leon finally decides to end the battle. He signals Luxion, and a massive explosion destroys the prince's armor instantly, bringing the fight to a sudden end. The referee declares Leon as the winner, but the audience reacts with anger instead of praise. He steps out of his armor and calmly approaches Angelica and Olivia. He reassures Angelica that the prince is safe, which gives her some comfort before she quietly leaves. Olivia criticizes Leon for making everyone hate him, but Leon remains unconcerned and reveals that he may leave the academy soon. Later, Angelica visits the injured prince and expresses relief at his safety. However, the prince rejects her feelings and explains that she never truly understands him. He believes that Marie is the only one who accepts his true self. Angelica accepts his decision despite her heartbreak and walks away, wishing for his happiness. Soon after, Leon meets her father and makes a humble request, asking only for protection for his family instead of any reward. Her father feels impressed by Leon's courage and his effort to protect Angelica, so he agrees and shows clear respect for him. After the battle, Angelica's engagement officially ends, marking a major turning point. Her father becomes concerned about her mental state, as she falls into deep sadness after everything that happens. Wanting her to recover, he asks Leon to take her away from the academy for some time. Leon accepts this responsibility, though he reflects that his once peaceful academy life has now completely changed. After that, Angelica and Olivia stood together on a ship. Angelica feels emotionally broken and accepts that everything is over, realizing the prince never truly understood her. She also feels guilty, believing that her situation forces Leon to leave the academy. From a distance, Leon watches with Luxion, who encourages him to comfort her, but Leon decides that his words would not help at this moment. The story then shifts to Leon's home, where preparations are underway for unexpected guests. His father becomes shocked upon learning that a noble girl has arrived. At the same time, Leon's stepmother reacts with anger at first, blaming him for the trouble he has already caused. However, the moment Angelica introduces herself as part of a noble family, her attitude completely changes, and she warmly welcomes her. Later, Leon takes Angelica and Olivia to his island, where both of them feel amazed by its beauty. Angelica notices a scent, which Leon explains comes from a natural hot spring. The calm environment allows Angelica to open up about her emotions, as she admits her inner conflict and lingering resentment for Marie. Leon gently shifts her perspective, encouraging her to move forward by choosing happiness instead of revenge. This idea brings her some peace and helps her begin to heal. Meanwhile, the story cuts to Marie, who receives shocking news. The prince and his allies reveal that their noble status has been taken away. Although they believe this choice proves their devotion, the reality quickly becomes harsh. Without their titles, they lose influence and power, becoming ordinary wealthy individuals. Marie feels furious and devastated, realizing that her dream of living a luxurious royal life has collapsed. Meanwhile, Leon and his father appears before the king, who reassures them that their family will be protected. As a reward, Leon receives a promotion and is granted the title of knight at a very young age. Although this honor seems surprising, Leon quietly suspects that the royal family may have hidden motives behind their decision. Later, Leon sits alone in a park while people around him criticize and judge him. He feels slightly discouraged, especially about his future. Luxion then informs him that the prince, his companions, and Marie continue growing stronger and are preparing to challenge him again. Instead of feeling threatened, Leon feels oddly relieved. At that moment, Angelica and Olivia arrive and pull him out of his gloomy mood, inviting him to join them. The academy prepares for a grand festival. Leon works alongside his friends, helping set up their cafe and organizing everything for the big day. During this time, Olivia approaches him, feeling slightly insecure about her appearance because she is wearing a new style she has never tried before. Leon reassures her, making her feel more confident. Soon after, Angelica arrives in a similar outfit. Leon admires them deeply, but reminds himself that he is only a side character, while they are the main heroines. Suddenly Leon's sister appears and explains that she had a conflict with her friend over a boy, and Leon quickly understands that the issue involves a wealthy boy. The situation turns out to be complicated, as her friend already knew the boy before, while Leon's sister now wants to be with him. She asks Leon to step in and intimidate her friend, hoping to gain an advantage. Olivia strongly opposes this idea, finding it unfair and wrong. This leads to Leon's sister reacting rudely toward her, but Leon immediately intervenes and defends Olivia without hesitation. Angelica also steps forward, making it clear that such behavior will not be accepted. Feeling cornered, Leon's sister leaves in frustration. Soon after, Leon receives news about trouble in another room. When he arrives, he finds Prince surrounded by girls, all drawn to his charm. The prince promotes his own cafe, confidently inviting everyone to visit. He also acknowledges Leon's cafe, encouraging him to check out his own cafe. Curious, Leon and his friends decide to visit immediately, only to realize that the prince's cafe feels more like a flashy club than a traditional cafe. The idea impresses everyone, especially since it is revealed that Marie came up with the concept, which further irritates Leon. As the festival officially begins, Olivia stands outside promoting their cafe, trying her best to attract customers. However, instead of support, she faces rejection and mockery. Many students refuse to visit, making the situation uncomfortable and discouraging for her. Meanwhile, preparations continue inside as Leon motivates his team and reminds them to give their best effort, while also enjoying the festival. At the same time, Angelica is called away and meets the Queen, who expresses happiness at seeing her cheerful again. The Queen suspects that Leon plays a role in this positive change and shows interest in meeting him. Angelica feels shy but agrees. Back at the festival, the prince's cafe becomes extremely popular, drawing a large crowd. Soon after, a group of girls arrives at Leon's cafe. However, the situation quickly turns chaotic. The girls begin causing trouble, throwing coffee and loudly complaining about the service. Leon remains calm and handles everything without arguing. Despite his efforts, the girl humiliates him further by stepping on him while continuing to insult his cafe. The Queen witnesses this scene and questions the situation, but the girl twists the story to make Leon appear responsible. Angelica can no longer tolerate the disrespect and steps in, confronting the girl firmly. Instead of stopping, the girl mocks Angelica and brings up her past humiliation by the prince. Olivia also tries to calm the situation, but the girl turns her insults toward her as well, targeting her status and loyalty. The tension escalates as Angelica grows visibly angry, warning her to stop. When the insults continue without restraint, Leon finally steps forward and puts an end to the situation, but the girl refuses to back down. She then signals her servant, who immediately steps forward and strikes Leon. The atmosphere turns hostile and things seem ready to spiral out of control. But the Queen intervenes and firmly stops everyone, demanding an end to the humiliation. The girl, blinded by pride, fails to recognize the Queen and insults her openly, mocking her as nothing more than an old and foolish woman. Despite the disrespect, the Queen remains composed. She instructs them to settle their bill and leave quietly. However, the girl refuses to listen and boasts about her noble background, even ordering her servant to throw the Queen out of the place. At that moment, Leon loses control. His anger erupts and he attacks the servant with overwhelming force, slamming him into the wall. His friends panic and try to hold him back, warning him that raising a hand against nobles will destroy his reputation among the academy girls. Leon ignores them completely, consumed by rage, and continues overpowering the servant. The girl becomes shocked, unable to believe it. Leon then steps beside the Queen and reveals her true identity, exposing that she is not an ordinary woman but the Queen herself. The girl instantly freezes in fear as the truth sinks in. The Queen urges Leon to calm down, reminding him that violence is not the solution. Even then, Leon struggles to control his anger and asks for permission to deal with them further. Angelica quickly realizes that Leon has completely lost control and calls for a professor. As soon as Leon notices the professor, his entire attitude changes and he becomes quiet and obedient. The Queen expresses disappointment in Leon's behavior, which makes him nervous. He apologizes and takes all the blame upon himself, even requesting that his family not be punished. The Queen explains that she came to meet him for a personal reason, and also addresses the conflict involving the prince. She advises Leon to always make decisions with a calm mind. Leon listens and reflects on her words. The Queen warns him that he has already made many enemies and must remain cautious. He acknowledges her concern and assures her that he will stay alert. She then reveals that she wants his help in making her visit to the Academy Festival memorable. Just then, Leon shocks everyone by grabbing the Queen's hand and proposing marriage. Olivia is stunned, while Angelica feels disbelief at his behavior. Leon boldly admires the Queen's beauty and youthful appearance without hesitation. The Queen feels awkward and reminds him that she is already married. The situation escalates when the prince arrives and strikes Leon, sending him flying. Furious and offended, he pulls the queen away. Later, the prince criticizes Leon harshly, but the queen shifts her focus to his cafe. She mentions the poor quality and false image behind it. She also reminds him of his broken promise of staying away from Marie after defeating. Meanwhile, Leon sits quietly until a girl, Carla, arrives and desperately asks for his help to save her family. The girl introduces herself as Carla Fou Wayne and politely asks Leon to help her family, as the Wayne family is in trouble, and Leon tries to remember if he has heard her name in the game before, as he feels uncertain about getting involved. The next day, Leon discusses this matter with Luxian and admits that he does not really want to help Carla, but he also knows that refusing might upset Olivia since she is the one who brought Carla to him. Yet he quickly shifts his focus and says that his main goal right now is to earn a lot of money during the ongoing school festival, as that is his priority above all else. Later at the Academy Festival, the air bike race is about to begin, and Angelica is managing everything as part of the executive committee, while she confidently explains to Olivia that the winner of the race will most likely be either Jelk or Brad, and Olivia wonders why Leon is not participating, to which Angelica casually remarks that he is probably somewhere playing games or doing something lazy without caring about the event. Meanwhile, Leon is indeed busy, but not in the way they think, as he is using Luxian's advanced technology to secretly place bets and manipulate outcomes to increase his earnings. And he is focused on multiplying his money rather than showing off his skills publicly. But during the race, things take a dangerous turn as several participants begin attacking Jilk in mid-race. And although Leon does not care much about the fairness of the race, he realizes that his money is placed on Jilk, so he becomes concerned about the outcome. Later, Jilk somehow manages to win that round, but he suffers a fracture, which makes it impossible for him to continue in the next race. And at this moment, his former fiancée Clarice Fia Atlee appears and reveals that she was the one who arranged the attacks on Jilk, because he ended their relationship through a simple letter for the sake of Marie, which deeply hurt her, and Marie tries to calm her down by saying that revenge is pointless and she should forget the past. But Clarice angrily rejects this idea and says she will never forgive him, and seeing Marie act so hypocritically reminds Leon of his real-life sister, who behaved in a similar selfish way, which irritates him even more. After Clarice leaves, Marie suggests that Leon should take Jilk's place in the race, and Leon is confused as he questions why he should do that. But Marie explains that if no capable participant is sent, then Angelica will be blamed, as she is responsible for organizing the event. And although Angelica says she can arrange someone else, Leon unexpectedly agrees to participate, which surprises everyone around him. Before the race begins, Daniel Fouofray approaches Leon and explains how deeply Clarice loved Jilk and always supported him in everything. Yet he ended things so coldly for Marie without even meeting her properly, which makes the situation even more unfair. And when Luzon asks Leon if he still plans to race on Jilk's behalf, Leon calmly says that Jilk will eventually face the consequences of his actions. But for now, he wants to win and see the expressions of those who bet against him. As the race starts, almost every participant begins targeting Leon, because many of them lost money due to his previous duel victory, and even the audience and commentators openly wish for his defeat, which results in formation of a hostile environment. While in the crowd, a noble girl, Stephanie Fouofray, confronts Angelica and tries to blame her for past events, and then insults Olivia by calling her a mere follower with no identity, and even compares her to a pet, which deeply hurts Olivia, and she runs away in tears. And Angelica finally loses her temper and attacks Stephanie Fouofray while shouting that she knows nothing about them and has no right to speak like that. Back in the race, Leon uses the nitro boost installed by Luxian in his airbike and pushes forward with incredible speed and skill, which allows him to win the race despite all the attacks. But right after crossing the finish line, his airbike explodes, and he worries about losing all his winnings until Daniel catches him and informs him that his money has actually doubled, which fills him with relief as well as satisfaction. After this, Leon approaches Jilk and demands a favor in return for participating in the race, and Jilk agrees to do whatever is asked. So Leon takes him to Clarice and makes him apologize directly to her face. And although Jilk sincerely apologizes, Clarice responds by slapping him and ending their relationship completely, which brings closure to her pain. Later, Clarice informs Leon about the fight between Angelica and Stephanie Fouofray, and also tells him that Olivia left in tears, which makes Leon concerned, and he searches for her until he finds her sitting alone on a bench looking sad and lost. And when he approaches her, she wonders if she and Angelica can ever become true friends, and Leon gently explains that it may be difficult, but it is not impossible if she stops listening to others and follows her own feelings, which encourages Olivia, and she decides to try once more to fix their relationship. Back in her room, Olivia reflects on this decision and believes that talking to Angelica again will make things better between them. But at that moment, the door knocks, and when she goes to check, and to her surprise, it's Carla Fou Wayne who is standing there. Carla Fou Wayne tells Olivia that at first she only wanted her to ask Leon Fou Bartfort for help, but now she wants Olivia herself to come along as well, which creates tension because Olivia calmly explains that she was already planning to talk about this, and she cannot help in this matter, and it would be better if Leon is not dragged into it either. But at that moment, the noble girl named Stephanie Fou Bartfort arrives and interrupts them as she coldly tells Olivia to do exactly as Carla says. Otherwise, her friends will suffer the consequences. And she also warns Carla that everything must happen according to her plan, which makes it clear that Stephanie is secretly controlling something big behind the scenes. Yet Olivia refuses to obey and stands her ground. Stephanie then tries to break Olivia's confidence by saying that nobles and commoners can never truly be friends, and she cruelly claims that Angelica only treats her like a pet, while Leon is only staying close to her for selfish reasons as he wants to take advantage of her, which deeply hurts Olivia, but she still does not agree with Stephanie and keeps resisting her manipulation. The next day, Leon speaks with Luxion and explains that Olivia has told him that Carla's hometown is under attack by sky pirates and they need to go and help, which makes Luxion question why they are not asking the royal palace for support. But Leon reveals that he actually wants to go because the sky pirates possess one of the 3 sacred items in the game, which is the holy necklace that will eventually awaken Olivia's true power and help her become a saint. And he also explains that the second item is a holy bracelet hidden in the palace dungeon, and the third is a holy staff kept in the kingdom's temple. And all of these events were supposed to happen years later in the game, but now everything is happening earlier due to interference. And he further explains that Stephanie is jealous of Olivia gaining fame as a commoner, and she also hates him, which is why she is creating this situation. Lucian suggests that Olivia, as the heroine of the game, should handle this herself, but Leon replies that she is not ready yet, and he must support her until her powers awaken, even though Lucian warns that doing too much for her might lead to unexpected feelings. But Leon dismisses this idea by reminding himself that he is only a side character in this world. Soon everyone prepares to leave for Carla's hometown, and Carla reveals that she is called additional help, which turns out to be Brad Foufield and Greg Fouseberg, who are loyal followers of the prince, and Brad explains that Carla is his former fiancée, so he felt obligated to help. And he also mentions that any reward money they receive will be taken for Marie, which shows their selfish motive. At the same time, Angelica Rafa Redgrave goes to meet Olivia with a gift, hoping to fix their relationship, but she finds the door locked. And then suddenly Stephanie appears and reveals that she has created a plan to take revenge on both Leon as well as Olivia, which angers Angelica so much that she grabs Stephanie and threatens her by saying that if anything happens to them, she will be the first to face the consequences. Meanwhile, Leon and the others travel aboard Luxion's advanced battleship, and during the journey, they casually play cards while Leon secretly cheats and wins as usual, which shows his carefree attitude even during a serious mission. But suddenly Luxion detects incoming sky pirates, and Leon tells Brad and Greg to get ready for battle, although they admit they have never fought outside the academy, so Leon simply tells them to stay inside while he handles everything himself. Legion then summons his powerful armor, and within moments he defeats the attacking pirates alone and forces them to surrender, which leaves Brad and Greg shocked as they realize how far behind they are compared to him. And when Luxion asks why he did not eliminate the enemies, Legion calmly replies that he does not like killing without reason. After this, they arrive at Carla's island, but as soon as they land, the villagers surround them with suspicion, and tension rises as Brad and Greg try to explain that they came to help. And then a man named Comrade, who is Carla's father, recognizes Brad and questions their purpose. And Leon calls Carla forward and explains that she told them the island was taken over by sky pirates. But her father denies this and demands an explanation from her. And when Carla tries to shift the blame onto Olivia, Leon steps in and defends Olivia by telling the truth that Carla hired them with money to come here, which angers her father and forces Carla to confess that she was acting under Stephanie's orders, and her plan was to lure Leon and his ship into a trap so that sky pirates could attack them and steal everything. But the plan failed. After resolving the situation, Leon collects the promised payment from Carla's father and prepares to leave. But he tells Luxion that even though there was no attack on the island, he still needs to find the main sky pirate army because he has not yet obtained the holy necklace, which remains his true goal. Later, Leon speaks with Olivia and tells her that they will reach their destination by the next day, and Olivia begins to question why Leon is always so kind to her, as Stephanie's harsh words echo in her mind, while Leon internally admits that he treats her kindly because she is the main heroine of the game and holds immense future power. But Olivia expresses that she does not want to be treated like a useless companion and instead wants to be a true friend to both Leon and Angelica, which makes Leon pause and reflect deeply on her feelings. As he thinks about this, Leon goes to the ship's deck and discusses it with Luxian, who bluntly tells him that by constantly protecting Olivia, he might actually be stopping her growth and making her emotionally weaker, and even suggests that Leon himself is starting to look like the main character, while Olivia seems like his dependent, which angers Leon, and he reacts by punching Luxian and telling him to stop speaking nonsense, even though those words clearly leave an impact on his mind. At the same time, the story continues with a tense scene inside the palace dungeon, where Marie Foulafon is being chased by a dangerous monster, and she runs through the dark corridors while thinking that no matter what happens, she must find the holy bracelet, because gaining that power is the only way for her to become stronger and secure her position in this world. The scene then shifts to the next day, where Leon Fou Bartfort explains to Brad Fou Field and Greg Fou Saberg that they might soon face another attack from the Sky Pirates, and the truth is that Leon is actually waiting for them to attack his ship so he can deal with them directly. And just as expected, Luxian informs him that the main army of the Sky Pirates is approaching their location, which confirms Leon's plan, and he calmly tells Brad and Greg to stay behind and protect the ship, while he goes out to face the enemies alone. But both of them insist that they also want to help, which surprises Leon because he can see their determination. So he allows them to participate, but tells them to first wear the armor taken from the captured pirates, so they can at least defend themselves properly. At the same time inside the ship, Olivia sits alone and reflects on her earlier words as she feels guilty for speaking harshly to Leon because she knows that he always cares about her and supports her without hesitation. And while she is lost in these thoughts, the ship suddenly shakes violently due to the pirate attack, which forces her to rush outside where she sees Leon fighting confidently against the enemies with his usual fearless attitude. Olivia wants to help him, but before she can act, the pirate boss notices her standing outside and moves toward her with the intention of capturing her. But just in time, Brad steps in and stops him, which shows that he is trying to protect her despite his past behavior. Meanwhile, Luxian informs Leon that Olivia is in danger because Brad and Greg are struggling against the pirate boss and cannot hold him back for long. And Leon hesitates for a moment as he thinks that ideally Olivia should be saved by them so she can grow stronger through her own experiences. But he quickly realizes that they are not ready yet, and if he delays any longer, Olivia could get hurt, so he decides to step in. Leon attacks the pirate boss with overwhelming strength and knocks him down to the ground. And the boss immediately begs for his life, and Leon calmly agrees to spare him, but only after taking the holy necklace from him, which is one of the sacred items he has been searching for. And with their leader defeated, the entire pirate army surrenders, and Leon takes control of all the treasure they had stolen, which marks a complete victory for him. As they head back toward the palace, Leon begins to think deeply about his actions, and decides that he should stop interfering too much with the original flow of the game, and instead act like a background character who simply watches events unfold. And he asks Luxian if there is any proof that Stephanie Fouaffre was connected to the Sky Pirates, and Luxian confirms that he has obtained a copy of an agreement between Stephanie and the pirates that clearly proves her involvement. The scene then changes to Brad and Greg, who are being rewarded by the royal treasury for handing over the stolen goods from the pirates. And they quickly realize that Leon has given them full credit for the victory even though he did most of the work, which leaves them surprised and somewhat grateful toward him. Later, Luxian asks Leon what will happen to Stephanie now, and Leon replies that the Redgrave family along with the royal palace will deal with her, and there is no need for him to get involved further, and he also decides that it would be better for him to create some distance between himself and both Angelica and Olivia so that he does not disrupt their growth any more than he already has. On the other side, Brad Fou Field and Greg Fou Saberg meet with Julius Rafa Holfort and openly admit that their feelings have changed as they no longer consider Leon Fou Bartfort an enemy, but instead respect him as a strong and capable knight whom they genuinely wish to surpass one day through their own efforts. And this moment shows a clear shift in their mindset as they begin to acknowledge his strength and character. And they even go further by approaching the Queen to discuss matters related to Leon, which reflects how seriously they now take him. Meanwhile, Leon reads a letter and immediately becomes frustrated because Brad and Greg have recommended him for a higher noble rank, which is something he never wanted in the first place. And before he can even calm down, he receives another letter from Clarice Fia Attlee, who politely informs him that her family will also support his promotion after graduation, and has already sent him a new air bike as a gift. And this only makes Leon more annoyed, as he strongly insists that he has no desire for fame, status, or attention, and only wishes to live a peaceful and quiet life away from all this unnecessary recognition. The story then moves to the next day at the academy, where the story prepares to continue with new developments, as Leon's reputation keeps growing despite his efforts to remain in the background, which creates a clear contrast between his intentions and the reality that keeps pushing him toward becoming an important figure in the world. as Daniel Fou Bartfort and Raymond Fou Arnaud excitedly tell Leon Fou Bartfort that his promotion has already happened, and now many girls are looking at him with interest because of his rising status, and they tease him by saying that now he might finally find the perfect girl he always wanted. But Leon calmly replies that these girls are only attracted to his rank and not to him as a person, which makes the situation feel meaningless to him. And his friends then suggest that if that is the case, he should just go and apologize to Angelica and Olivia because he has been avoiding them for a long time. Soon the scene shifts to a school trip, where all the students arrive at a beautiful location, and Leon quietly thinks that this is his chance to visit the Southern Temple, where he can obtain another important item. And as he moves around, he notices that Olivia and Angelica are also visiting the same place, while Olivia walks toward the shrine and thinks how nice it would have been if both Leon and Angelica had come here together with her. And when she finally reaches the shrine, she is surprised to see that Leon is already there, and shortly after, Angelica also arrives, which creates an awkward silence between the three of them. At that moment, a small shrine caretaker girl warmly welcomes them and explains that this shrine is famous for granting wishes related to marriage, which leads all three of them to pray, and Leon loudly makes a very specific and shameless wish, asking for a sensible wife who is also attractive and playful, which embarrasses Angelica so much that she immediately starts hitting him and scolding him for not keeping such thoughts in his mind. And after this, the caretaker gives them 3 lucky charms, which include a good luck charm, a blessing charm, and a war fortune charm. And Leon initially takes all 3 because that is what he came for. But when the girl explains that each charm is meant for a different person, Angelica and Olivia tell Leon that he can keep them if he wants. Yet Leon decides to share them and gives the good luck charm and blessing charm to them while he keeps the war fortune charm for himself, because it will help him greatly in battles. After the trip ends, everyone returns, and Luxian points out that this is the reason Leon did not raid the palace dungeon earlier. And Leon confirms that with the help of the war fortune charm, he will now be able to obtain the holy bracelet much more easily. But suddenly Clarice, Fia, and Atli appear and challenge Leon to a sword fight, which creates tension, and at that very moment they notice a large number of monsters approaching their ship that seem to be under someone's control, and Leon observes a mark on them that belongs to the Phanos Duchy, which was once part of another kingdom but has now declared independence, and he realizes with concern that this battle was supposed to happen much later in the game, which means the story is being disturbed even more. Soon Olivia and Angelica arrive, and Angelica explains that the princess of that kingdom is Gertrude Serge Phanos, and the princess soon announces that she is declaring war, and orders everyone on the ship to surrender or face death. And her subordinate Garrett boards Leon's ship and declares that everyone will be taken captive whether they are nobles or commoners, and Angelica tries to protect others by offering herself as a prisoner because of her noble status and asks them to let the rest go. But Garrett agrees only in words, while the situation quickly turns worse as the students show their fear and selfishness by supporting the idea and even begin attacking Leon and Olivia under pressure, which deeply shows their true nature. Angelica is then taken to the enemy ship, where she questions Princess Gertrude about why she is starting a war she cannot win. But the princess does not give a clear answer, and instead calmly orders that the remaining students should be executed by lining them up and shooting them. And Angelica is shocked and reminds her that she promised to release them, but the princess coldly responds that only 2 students were truly on Angelica's side, while the rest did not care about her at all, which reveals the harsh truth of their situation. Back on the ship, Leon has been thrown into a cell because he spoke too much and caused trouble, while Olivia sits nearby crying and blaming his actions. But soon Chris Fusseberg arrives and tells Leon that even after capturing Angelica, the enemy still plans to kill everyone, and they need his help. Yet Leon initially refuses because he does not want to help people who are not willing to fight for themselves, and Chris then tries to motivate the others to stand up and fight, but they selfishly tell him to go alone. At this critical moment, Leon breaks free after taking down 2 guards and walks in with a weapon in his hand as he confronts the students and questions whether they truly deserve to call themselves nobles, because their ancestors fought countless battles to protect the land they now live on, while they themselves are too afraid to fight for their own lives. And he strongly tells them that this is the time to repay that legacy, and urges them to stand up and fight, which finally inspires one of the noble girls, who says that even if they cannot give blood, they can still fight using their magic. With this renewed spirit, Leon brings out the air bike he received as a gift, and prepares to act as he instructs Chris to use the armors on the ship to protect everyone, while he goes ahead to rescue Angelica. And at the same time, Princess Gertrude begins playing a magical flute, which increases the aggression of the monsters under her control. The battle continues as Fou Bartfort hears a strange sound echoing across the battlefield and quickly realizes that it matches the magical flute item from the game, which means the situation is far more dangerous than it appears, because that flute has the power to control monsters and change the flow of battle completely. And at the same time, on the other side, Fou Bartfort and the remaining students finally gather their courage and begin using the armored suits on the ship to fight back against the attacking monsters, which marks an important turning point as they stop running away and choose to stand and fight for their survival. And this moment becomes the true beginning of their growth as nobles who must learn to protect themselves and others. The battle quickly becomes more intense as more monsters surround the ship, and the students struggle to keep up while those who can use magic stand together and form defensive barriers around the ship to reduce the damage from constant attacks. And at the same time, Olivia moves from one injured student to another without rest, as she uses her healing magic again and again while thinking only about saving as many people as possible. And her determination grows stronger with every moment as she refuses to give up even when her body starts to feel weak. But suddenly one side of the ship is hit by a powerful strike that causes a massive explosion and sends shockwaves across the deck. And Olivia immediately runs toward that direction because she knows that many students must have been injured there. Yet before she can even reach them, another attack hits the opposite side of the ship, which makes the situation even worse and spreads panic everywhere. Seeing this chaos unfold around her, Olivia begins to feel overwhelmed as she realizes that no matter how fast she moves, she cannot be everywhere at once, and she cannot protect everyone at the same time. And this helpless feeling builds inside her until she can no longer hold it back and she cries out loudly in despair. And at that very moment, something deep within her awakens as a bright golden light bursts out from her body and spreads across the entire ship, forming a powerful protective shield that surrounds everyone. And with the help of the good luck charm, she is able to maintain this barrier for a while, as it not only blocks incoming attacks but also pushes back against the monsters outside, which creates a temporary safe space for everyone on board. When Leon sees this incredible display of power, he immediately understands that Olivia has finally awakened her true ability and has begun to step into her role as the true heroine of the story. And without wasting any time, he decides to act as he enters the enemy ship directly, where he quickly takes control of the situation by overpowering the enemies and handing a weapon to Garrett, while Luxian disables him completely. And Leon then secures both the magical flute and its control device before returning to his own ship, as he prepares to end the battle. But just as they are about to escape, Garrett makes a desperate announcement and orders all forces to attack Leon's ship immediately, by claiming that the princess can be replaced, which shows how far he is willing to go. At the same time, Gertrude Seraphenos releases the monsters from her control using the flute, which causes them to go completely wild and attack everything around them, including her own allies, which throws the entire battlefield into chaos. And now both the uncontrolled monsters and the enemy battleships begin attacking Leon's ship together from all sides. And realizing the danger, Leon asks Angelica Rafa Redgrave to hold things together for a little while so he can find a way to fix the situation, while Angelica quickly rushes to check on Olivia, who has become weak after casting such a powerful spell. As Olivia struggles to stay conscious, she softly explains that she only wanted to prove that she is worthy of being called their friend, and not just someone who depends on them without contributing anything. And hearing this, Angelica feels a deep emotional connection and gently embraces her while telling her that she does not need to prove anything because she has always been her friend, which creates a heartfelt moment between them. But this moment does not last long as the ship is suddenly hit again by another wave of attacks, and Angelica loses her balance and is thrown toward the edge of the ship, where she hangs dangerously and is about to fall. But Olivia quickly grabs her and manages to pull her back up with great effort. However, the danger is not over yet, as another powerful impact shakes the ship. And this time Olivia herself loses her footing and begins to fall from the edge. And just as she is about to drop, Fou Bartfort arrives at the perfect moment, riding his airbike, and catches her safely in his arms, which saves her life once again. And as he holds her close, Olivia finally gathers the courage to express her true feelings and confesses that she loves him and wants to stay by his side. But Leon tries to brush it off by saying that there are many better choices for her, such as Julius Rafa Holford and his companions. Yet Olivia firmly rejects this idea and makes it clear that she does not like them, which shows her honesty and determination. Leon then brings her safely back onto the ship, and by this time Luxian has fully mobilized the ship's power, and together they begin destroying the enemy battleships, one after another with overwhelming force until the situation is finally brought under control. But just when it seems like the battle is about to end, Garrett makes one final move and sends out his strongest weapon, known as the Black Knight, which marks the beginning of the final stage of the battle, where Leon must face his toughest opponent yet. Leon enters the fight using his armor Arrogance and immediately engages the Black Knight in close combat as both machines move with incredible speed and precision while their swords clash again and again, creating sparks and shockwaves that echo across the battlefield. And Leon relies on the advanced systems of his armor along with its unlimited ammunition feature to keep up with the relentless attacks of his opponent. Yet the Black Knight proves to be far stronger than expected and manages to land a heavy strike that damages Leon's armor, which causes Luxian to warn him that continuing the fight like this could be dangerous. But Leon remains calm and refuses to back down as he orders Luxian to increase the armor's power output even though the situation is becoming critical. Before Leon can fully adjust to the damage, the Black Knight takes advantage of the moment and drives its sword straight into his armor with full force, believing that the battle is already over and that Leon has no way to continue. But Leon quickly abandons the damaged armor at the perfect moment, which makes the enemy believe that he is surrendering, and in that brief moment of misunderstanding, Leon uses a clever strategy as he takes control of the Black Knight's system and forces its head unit to open, which exposes the pilot inside, and without hesitation Leon points his shotgun directly at the pilot's head and calmly tells him to return to his kingdom and report that he was defeated by someone far younger than him, which completely humiliates the enemy and ends the duel in a surprising and decisive way. However, the battle is not over yet, as Garrett refuses to accept defeat and makes one final desperate attempt by triggering a massive explosion in the sky that gathers all the remaining monsters into a single location in order to overwhelm Leon and his allies. But Leon immediately orders Luxian to activate the main weapon of the ship, and a powerful energy beam is fired that cuts through the sky and destroys all the monsters at once, which finally brings the entire battle to an end and secures their victory. Once everything calms down, Leon once again avoids taking credit for what he has done, and instead gives all the recognition for capturing Gertrude Seraphanos to Chris Fou Bartfort, just like he has done before, while he himself quietly spends time relaxing with Angelica Rafa Redgrave and Olivia over tea, which shows that he values peace and simple moments more than fame or recognition. A few days later, a new challenge appears as Julius Rafa Hulfort and his group prepare a large and powerful robot armor and issue another duel challenge to Leon with the condition that if he loses, he must allow them to stay with Marie Foulafon without interfering in their lives. And surprisingly, Leon tells Luxian that he plans to lose this duel intentionally because he believes that Olivia is too kind for people like them, and if they truly want to remain with Marie, then perhaps it is better to let them follow their own path. The duel begins with Greg Fou Bartfort controlling the large armor, and Leon deliberately avoids finishing the fight quickly, as he dodges attacks and makes it look like a fair match, so that no one suspects his intentions. But during the fight, Luxian detects a serious malfunction in Greg's armor and warns Leon that it could explode at any moment, which would put Greg's life in danger. And when Leon hears this, he immediately tries to warn Greg to get out of the armor. But Greg refuses to believe him and continues fighting, which forces Leon to act without hesitation, as he uses his power to pull Greg out of the armor at the last possible moment before it explodes. And because of this action, Leon unintentionally wins the duel despite his plan to lose. As a result of this unexpected victory, Leon is awarded the noble title of Viscount, which is something he never wanted, and he reacts with frustration because his goal has always been to stay unnoticed and live a quiet life. And soon after this, Olivia meets him and reminds him of her earlier confession, as she gently says that she has already expressed her feelings, and she believes he will give her an answer soon, before leaving him alone to think about everything. Leon then reflects on all the events that have taken place and realizes that even though he considers himself just a background character, he is now standing at the center of the story between Olivia, who is the true heroine, and Angelica, who was once her rival, and deep inside he wants to remain with both of them, despite all the complications. And when he discusses this with Luxian, the AI points out that Leon and Marie are actually similar, because both of them are using their knowledge of the game to shape events in their favor, which makes Leon question whether he is becoming like her. But Luxian calmly reassures him that there is nothing wrong with that, and even admits that he supports Leon staying with both Angelica and Olivia. In the final moments, Angelica and Olivia call Leon to show him something, and as he walks toward them, he jokingly tells Luxian that it would have been better if he had a kinder partner, while Luxian responds in the same tone. And this closes the story with a sense of calm after all the intense battles. That concludes the anime recap. As always, if you enjoyed, let me know down below, and I'm out.